Hi everyone, time for our next part of our story, The Other Side of Truth, and this is chapter 10. Thieves and Vandals. It was better to keep walking, try to find somewhere they could shelter. The clock in the college had said 4:30, but the sky was darkening fast. Lights now glittered everywhere, splashes of yellow from street lamps, car headlights, buses with windows ablaze and shops with neon signs replaced the dull greys of the day. They kept to the main road. There were so many side roads, most of them smaller and quieter. Never would they have been allowed to go wandering alone like this in Lagos. Yet here they were in another great sprawling city with absolutely no idea of where they were, nor of where they were going. With Uncle Dele missing, they were now completely and utterly alone. If anyone asked where they came from and what they were doing, whatever should they say? How could they explain what they were doing here, 2 children alone in London? 2 children who were not meant to be here, who'd tricked the eyes at the airport. Even thinking about the questions they would be asked was too frightening. It seemed to Sade that they had been walking for miles. Femi began to straggle behind. "Where are we going, Sade?" he groaned. "I don't know," she said. "Maybe we'll find somewhere." Whenever they stopped, the icy wind speared even more fiercely through their thin layers of cotton. Other people wore thick coats, many with hats, scarves and gloves. Everyone seemed in a hurry. Probably they were already on their way home for the evening. No one took any notice of them. It was as if they were invisible. They reached another row of shops. Femi tugged at his handle of the holdall. "Do you smell that, Sade?" Her brother pulled her towards the smell of frying fish. She was hungry now as well. In a shop with a plate glass across the front frontage, people were queuing. At a long white counter, a man with a white cap was shaking a basket of chips. There was no point waiting and looking, it only made the hunger worse. But when a little further along they came to a cafe with red check curtains and matching tablecloths, they stopped to stare inside. A waiter was serving 2 platefuls of what looked like rice and stew to a couple sitting by the window. When the waiter looked up, he frowned and shook his head at them. Embarrassed, they turned away. A customer opened the cafe door and a gust of warm air brushed past them. A second later, the warmth and scents had vanished. How long could they manage like this with no money and no food? It was when, however, they came to a shop with plantains and yams piled up by the doorway and windows, heaped with bags of rice and gari, that they could not resist going in. The shop smelt like of Lagos. Spices, oils, dried fish and fresh vegetables were all crammed onto overflowing shelves. Bottles and tins did extraordinary balancing acts like on Mr. Abioni's stall. "Plantain chips," Femi whispered. He picked up a cellophane packet, brought it up close to his face and sniffed it before slowly replacing it. They walked through the shop, squeezing past a couple of other customers in the narrow passages. They took their time examining items on each side. After circling twice, they still wanted to delay returning outside to the biting wind, but the man behind the counter had become suspicious. "What is it you children want?" he demanded. Sade and Femi hesitated. "If you're just waiting for someone, then wait outside, please," he stated in a no-nonsense tone. Sade felt blood rush to her face. He thought they were thieves. Of course she and Femi wanted something to eat. But they could hardly say, "We'd like some plantain chips, please, but we have no money." Femi responded before Sade. "This food isn't good, not like in Lagos," he said loudly. "Come on, Sade, we'll go to another shop." They resettled their rucksacks and pulled back their shoulders before walking out. Neither of them looked in the direction of the counter, but a lady's voice followed them. "Makes you wonder about some parents, doesn't it, Mr. Mills?" Cars were still streaming along the road, but fewer people were out walking now. They needed to find a place where they could at least huddle up together and try to keep each other warm. Somewhere near light, but also hidden. The small towels Mama Buki had packed for them in their holdall could be their blankets. They began looking for a shop entrance set back from the pavement that didn't have a metal grille blocking it. When they came to the corner of one of the darker side roads, they hesitated. Perhaps there might be somewhere there. But it seemed quite deserted and more frightening. They carried on. In the next block, Femi pulled Sade to a halt next to a narrow alleyway between two buildings. I can't walk any more, Femi's voice quavered. Sade peered into the alleyway. It was too murky to see beyond the entrance. The damp smell was like the open drains in Alade Market after a downpour. It would be too horrible to spend a night in there, but before she could say anything, Femi thrust down the hold hall just inside the alley and curled himself up like a snail on top of it. Femi, please, Sade began. She broke off in horror as a shape rose up from the deeper shadows in the alley. Clear off! This place is mine.